Everyone, welcome back to the Beatles News Roundup here on Vinyl Rewind. Today we are recapping the stories from the past month, November 2024. But before we get started, I just want to take a moment and ask you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you to those who already have. And now a quick word from today's sponsor.
Gonna get 111 comments.
Understated cleanliness, musky opulence. Here's to you, Drunkle Greg.
Smells good from here.
Drunkle Greg.
Okay, first up we have another update on the Sam Mendes Beatles movie. So far we've only gotten rumors of who will be cast as the Fab Four, but late last month it would seem we got confirmation that Barry Keoghan will play Ringo in the upcoming biography films. In an interview with Entertainment Tonight, Ringo himself confirmed the casting, adding,
I think it's great, and I believe he's somewhere taking drum lessons.
Oh, really?
And I hope not too many.
You know, it's kind of funny. I would have thought there would be a more formal announcement of all four actors, but maybe Ringo accidentally let it slip. As of this taping, these are the other actors rumored to be playing the other Beatles. Harris Dickinson as John Lennon, Paul Mescal as Paul McCartney, and Charlie Rowe as George Harrison. In other Beatles movie news, a new documentary titled Beatles 64 premiered at the Hudson Square Theater in New York City on November 24th. Paul McCartney was among the many guests in attendance, including producer Martin Scorsese. After the screening, Ethan Hawke moderated a Q&A. The film was then released to the public on November 29th on Disney+. Now, the new film centers on the Beatles' first visit to America and features a lot of footage shot by filmmakers Albert and David Maysles for their documentary What's Happening, The Beatles in the USA. The film also features restored footage of the band's first American concert, along with audio demixed using Peter Jackson's MAL technology, and then remixed by Giles Martin. Hopefully we'll see a physical release of the film sometime next year, but in the meantime, let me know with a comment what you thought of the film. And speaking of the Beatles in America, the big vinyl box set for this year was finally released. The set includes the first 6 Beatles LPs released by Capitol Records, with a bonus 7th double LP documentary album that's exclusive to the box set. The 6 music LPs are also available separately, and all of the releases were mastered from the original tapes using an all analog signal path and then pressed onto 108-gram vinyl. I'm enjoying them more than I thought I would, and I think they sound great. Did you end up getting any of the albums individually, or did you splurge for the box set? Let me know. Earlier in the month of November, the Beatles received 2 Grammy nominations for their latest single, Now and Then. The first was for Record of the Year, and the other was for Best Rock Performance. And now this is the first time the group has been nominated since 1997, when they were up for 3 categories, including Best Pop Performance for Free as a Bird, Best Short Form Music Video for the same song, and Best Long Form Video for the anthology series. They ended up winning all 3 categories. Billboard also reports that this is the first time a song created with the assistance of AI has been nominated for a Grammy. November also saw the release of the 50th anniversary edition of George Harrison's 4th album, Living in the Material World. The album features a brand new remix done by Paul Hicks, and the album is already climbing the UK charts, hitting number 6 on the official vinyl albums list. So far, I'm really digging the new mix, but I'm curious to know what you think. Leave me a comment. In other George news, a recent article in Guitar Player talked about the highly unusual prototype fretless guitar made by Bartel. The guitar was in the studio during the recording of the White Album. However, it remains unconfirmed if it actually appears on the album. You can hear John playing it during an interview from June 6, 1968.
What kind of a guitar is that? Very strange looking.
Fretless guitar. Nobody's boy.
George kept the guitar until 1985 when he gave it to his friend Ray Russell. It was then sold at auction in October of 2020 for £190,000. If you want to learn more about it, check out the book Finding Fretless by Paul Brett. In other George guitar news, we got an auction update on George's Futurama guitar from last episode. It ended up selling for $1.27 million, a new record for a George guitar. In other auction news, John Lennon's 1971 letter to Eric Clapton inviting him to join his new new rock supergroup is up for bid. In the letter, John writes, "You could make the kind of sound that could bring the balls back in rock and roll." Now, according to the letter, the supergroup, or as John called it, a nucleus group, would have consisted of John and Yoko, Nicky Hopkins, Jim Keltner, Klaus Vormann, and Phil Spector. I mean, can you imagine if that group actually got off the ground? Now, the 8-page letter is only a draft and was never sent to Eric. It's unclear if John ever rewrote this and actually sent that version of it. It goes up for bid on December 5th, and it's estimated to bring in 100 to 150,000 euros. In other John news, a decade-long legal case revolving around his gold watch was finally settled. So the story goes, in 1980, Yoko gifted him an engraved watch for his birthday, and she kept it for many years after his death. Until sometime between 1995 and 2006, her chauffeur allegedly stole it, and then the watch ended up in Europe. Then in 2013, a collector bought it from an auction house that claimed that Yoko had gifted it to them, and they used a false affidavit. Apparently, he paid roughly 600 euros for the watch. Then he brought it to Christie's for an appraisal, and they reached out to Yoko to confirm if it was really John's, and that's when she found out it was stolen. Then the collector tried to work out some sort of deal with Yoko, but things were going nowhere. So in 2018, he filed a legal action to claim that he was the rightful owner of it. And then after a series of appeals and back and forth through court cases, the highest court in Switzerland finally declared that Yoko was the rightful owner. Now, unfortunately, the collector is out all that money, as the auction house he bought it from is no longer in business, and so there's no recourse for him. As for the chauffeur, Yoko has no proof he stole the watch, and charges were never filed. A recent Medium article proposes that an early Beatles demo could contain the voice of the group's original bassist, Stu Sutcliffe, which, if true, would be the only known recording of his voice. The demo was recorded in the summer of 1960 at Paul's home. You can hear the voice in question around the 1 minute to 1:15 mark, depending on the version you find. While some folks are convinced this is Stu, most fans agree that it's John singing. Check it out for yourself and let me know what you think. In Beatles merch news, we have a new selection of apparel and home goods designed by Online Ceramics. The collaboration between the Beatles and the fashion brand celebrates the 60th anniversary of the group on Capitol Records. The line features a selection of t-shirts, hoodies, long sleeve shirts, a hat, a tote bag, and a coffee mug. And this past month in Beatles history, in 1961, Brian Epstein saw the Beatles perform live for the first time at the Cavern Club on November 9th. He would go on to manage them, and the rest, as you know, is history. Alright everybody, that'll do for today. Thank you all so much for watching, but I especially want to thank my members over on Patreon. I'm your Vinyl Geek, and I'll catch you on the flip side.